Welcome back. Another Saturday. Here we go. Happy hodling, everybody. I hope everyone's excited at least. I'm excited. I'm sure excited. Well, nothing much has happened. We did have that dip, right, over the last couple of days. Everyone's been talking about it. I like how everyone talked about it like it was this massive dip that happened. Like, oh no, the sky is falling. Like, what? You mean this little candle here? Or this little candle? Like, what massive dip, right? So, this is nothing. We've already been through the ringer. You can't hurt us anymore. We're painless. You know what I mean? We can't even. Hey, what are you doing? You back off. My cats are painless too, evidently. So, it is what it is. The cats have the zoomies. I have a little bit of an issue getting up in the morning, it seems like. So, I'm a little groggy. But I do have some things in a fat minute. Yeah, well, oh, wow. Non-stop. Well, hey, man, working non-stop is never a bad thing, right? It's more money in the account. I've been working a lot lately, too. It's kind of getting a little stressful, but to be honest, it's good. It's good to have employment, especially now in this time of age. So I'm not going to lie. I'm happy with what I got. If we look at Bitcoin currently is sitting at 33,862. My cats are freaking out. We are still trading within the channel, though, that we've discussed. You know, obviously, nothing much has happened within this $42,000 to $32,000 channel. But we do have reason to think that we could potentially be at a bottom. How's it going, Gary? Good morning. So when we're talking about a bottom, right, and now I've said this before that we're not in the end of a bull cycle, we're not in the end of the market cycle, but we're in a bearish trend within the bull market, right? So that kind of makes sense when you start thinking about how lengthening market cycles work, how if this cycle is going to be much longer than other cycles, like we've discussed the super cycle theory. If that would happen, for example, would we always go through a bullish trend, or would we eventually go through a bearish trend? And arguably, we would go through both, right? It's the cycle of things. Even though, like, if you look at everything within the chart, on the hourly, down to the minute, down to the 5-minute chart, I don't know how low I can go, but I can go 5 minutes. Everything is in a constant state of motion, right? Whether it's a 5-minute chart, or whether it's the hourly chart or whatever, it's going to go through ups and downs and trends. And that's exactly how things are going to work at a macro level. So to think that it's only ever going to go up, it's only ever going to just keep going up until finally it crashes. Well, if we have a lengthening market cycle, then no, it's not going to do that. It's eventually going to go through some downturns. But it's held up pretty well. It's still at 33,000. So how's it going, Tyler? How's it going, Josh? Dot is super cheap. I've actually been picking up some Dot myself. It's been really good. How's it going, Ali? So at this point, you know, are we concerned about where Bitcoin is? Obviously not. Right now is a great buying opportunity for certain coins like Polkadot, for example. I bought a little bit of Polkadot last night. You know, $15 for Polkadot. I'm never going to say no to that. Our KSM that we said would never dip below 400 is now 207, still a steal. I also bought more KSM and continued to stake that. So we know that the market's going to go up and down, right? And it's going to go through ebbs and flows. So how do we know, or how do I speculate that we're in the bottom? That's going to be the Puell multiplier. So the Puell multiplier is so far one of the best indicators to identify these bottoms. And usually it's hitting, when it's hitting down in this green box here, when it gets here, we're usually seeing the bottom of the market. And you can see that displayed here in the 2013 to 2017 market. This is basically the exact bottom, which is at the bottom of the Puell multiplier. Now we're seeing that exact same thing here where we're getting back down to that green bar. Now, could we go a little bit lower? Possibly. But I still think around 33, 32, wherever this zone is the bottom. So I don't think that we have much to worry about. Like I said, we could, of course, see a sub $30,000 Bitcoin, but it would only be for a short amount of time. But I think we can rely on the Puell multiplier here to indicate, okay, well, maybe we're at our bottom, and maybe eventually we're going to pick this back up. Now, I did discuss that we most likely will pick this back up early in 2022, or maybe even late 2021, so sometime in the winter or the fall. But that's what I'm expecting. How's it going, Giovanni? How are you, man? Do I have any thoughts on BTC Rainbow chart? You know what? I don't use the Rainbow chart a lot So I don't have any direct comments to it. I do know like how it works in terms of displaying the regression bands and the different rainbows. But I think it would be realistic to think that we would see a regression over time and a less hitting of the other regression bands. But I know a lot of people look at it as it must hit this to get that. But if I'm thinking of the right indicator at least, let me see if I can pull it up and we can kind of talk about it. So a few other things have happened actually. Now everyone's talking about how Bitcoin is, we got a lot of issues with Bitcoin and everything else. But you see smart money and you see whales still accumulate Bitcoin, and that's for a reason. Now I was heavy into altcoins, and I still am. I'm not stopping my altcoins. I still buy my altcoins pretty regularly, but I do buy Bitcoin now again, and that's something that I haven't done in a long time. I haven't bought Bitcoin since I saw Bitcoin back at 11K, I think 12K, I think was one of my last purchases. But I have been buying more, and the reason being is because of where we are for Bitcoin. It's at a pretty dramatic low here. And I think buying under the 50-week is going to prove valuable in the short term anyway. So anytime that Bitcoin or any other good token is under the 50-week, so if we're talking about Ethereum, for example, I'd definitely say it's a buy. And you see these whales doing exactly that, buying Bitcoin down in these lows while everyone else was FOMOing up here. So follow the smart money. Don't just blindly go and invest in something. Have I heard any news on Sunday Swap? I'll keep up to them, but I don't think their stake pool is out yet, but I'll double check. And yeah, we should be sitting at, let's see exactly where we are, about 1.37. So the crypto market is a little bit lower right now, sitting at about $1.37 trillion, which is a lot still wiped off the table from what we previously had a couple of months ago. But again, we've been talking about this channel and just trading within this channel, and we're going to have a pretty boring summer. To be honest, it's going to be a good summer for everyone to accumulate in, but I know a lot of people aren't thinking that. I think a lot of people are stepping away from crypto for a little bit and hopefully hodling their bags and not selling. But I've been hearing about a couple of people just going away and not really dealing with it. When we're talking about the rainbow chart and the regression bands, so if you look at the previous market cycles here, you'll see an obvious exaggeration through the regression bands, right? And into the higher echelons. Now, we don't need to hit number one, right? So if you look back at 2013, so 2013 had this kind of hit, right? It went through its peak and then went down for a bit and then went through its double peak and then hit above the chart, right? Now 2017 did a much different thing where it just hit like the tippy top of the chart, and here we haven't really done much. Now, by all means, at this point we absolutely are going to go higher for sure, but are we going to go as dramatically high as other market cycles? I don't think so. And I think this is part to do with lengthening market cycle theory. As the market cycle matures and more money comes into the system, then we have less and less exaggerated market peaks and then market bottoms. So we could be seeing that in play right now because you see how much of a dip that that drop was, but arguably we went through a pretty big dip. What makes BTC rise? The whole thing is based on a mix of the network effect, a mix of buying pressure, what's on exchanges. And right now, more Bitcoin is leaving exchanges than ever before. Well, not than ever before, but since we had that dump. Now that being said, what does Bitcoin need to do to get back on track? It definitely needs to hit above $42,000. I personally don't think the bull market will be back engaged until we break 52,000, and we need a decisive break, right? So if you look back a little bit, right? So I don't know who was around for this zone, but if we look back to where we actually broke into our bull market, there were a lot of people that sat here, and we'll go down to this little. There were a lot of people that sat here and expected Bitcoin to come back, right? There are a lot of people that once Bitcoin broke this line in the sand, the $12,000, there were a lot of people expecting, okay, Bitcoin is going to retrace back. There's no way that Bitcoin is going to continue up here. Those people were decisively left in the dust. This wasn't this long ago. This was just like not even a year ago, right? Maybe 9 months at this point. This really isn't that long of a period of time. But we do need a decisive move to break above that 52,000 line, just like we broke 12,000. And that really gives us a bullish indicator. But there's a lot of other bullish indicators that we can use. The Pule multiple giving us the idea that we're most likely at our bottom where we are right now. These don't have to represent market bottoms. They can just represent local bottoms, which is what I'm talking about right now. This definitely isn't a market bottom in any way. Who knows where our market bottom will be? That all depends on where our market peak ends up being. So, but at some point, Bitcoin is just going to increase. But we obviously see that with more whales buying Bitcoin because they know exactly where it's going to go, at least in the next 5 years. If you have a long-term outlook on cryptocurrency, especially 5 years, you're going to do well in the space, especially if you're buying Bitcoin for that period of time. Yeah, I think if we look at actually the fear and greed index, which is a cool thing to look at, we've been in extreme fear for the last little while. It hasn't been like this bad in a long time. But I think this is more representative because of how many new people are in the space and don't understand exactly how much of a ride they're in with cryptocurrency. Because a lot of people get the idea that, hey, I'm going to get into crypto, I'm going to be rich in a couple of months, and then I'm going to get out. And hey, if it was that simple, if it was just as simple as waiting 3 years and investing your money, then, everyone would do it at this point. But it's not that simple. It's a brand new, very, very early market class that is not even close to maturing. And we're experiencing the first little bit of it. This is an exciting time for history, for us, even people trading in this. It's definitely something that we will never experience again, and generations past us will never experience something like this again. It's I say oftentimes that this is like the internet launching, but it's kind of way more. It's kind of way more. I'm gonna try really hard. I'm not gonna get political. I am not gonna get political. That's what I'm gonna say. But Israel has seized $7.7 million in Bitcoin and Doge, believed to be controlled by Hamas terrorist organization. Now, the reason why I'm bringing this up is this could potentially be a bearish idea for cryptocurrency. But I wanted to talk about this because it's not. And the reason why it's not here is, one, this is all trackable. It's better under AML, KYC, anti-terrorism laws, and everything else that could come up. But also, how much US dollars is used to fund things like Hamas or terrorist organizations. Arguably, the Mujahideen, Al-Qaeda, as you would know, arguably they were funded almost exclusively on US money. So realistically, is this FUD? Is this anything other than just people saying that, oh, Bitcoin bad because terrorists are using them? I would say so. Regardless of what you personally think of Hamas and whether or not they are or are not a terrorist organization, I'm not going to get into that because, it is what it is. But hey, I'm sure if you look hard enough, you can guess where I am on that political spectrum. But in terms of cryptocurrency, I don't see this as a bad thing in any way. People are going to do illegal things regardless of whether or not it's Bitcoin, it's US dollar, it's German dollar, whatever it ends up being. It really doesn't matter. So it's a lot of money. It's a lot of seizure, right? I'd probably say that that's a pretty big deal. And Dogecoin too. This also in a way validates Dogecoin. And I know a lot of people like to shit on Dogecoin. And fair game. I shit on Dogecoin too. I shit on SafeMoon and all that. I own a little bit of Dogecoin. It's a negligible amount of Dogecoin. But at the same time, this really does legitimize Dogecoin as a store of value. Now, I think Elon Musk was doing something about talking to the Dogecoin developers to make it better than Bitcoin and Ethereum. I personally think Elon Musk needs to stay away from crypto, in my opinion. But it is what it is. I still don't disagree that Dogecoin is actually a harder asset than fiat money, than the United States dollar. And that's an actual, that's not a meme. That's completely real. So it is kind of impossible to be a figure in a space and remain non-political, especially in cryptocurrency. That's very true. Well, listen, I'll move off of this article, but I will say one thing: hashtag Free Palestine. But that's all I'm going to say there. My bad. What'd you do, Giovanni? So let's look at some of our altcoins that we often look at. Cardano is on a low right now, so it's $1.33. Let's go ahead and move over to the 4-hourly chart, because I don't like looking at altcoins on the daily. And not there's anything wrong with that. I just like to get a more short-term picture of them. Yeah, exactly. That's a pretty, if you know me, that's a pretty easy political stance that I'd be sitting. Yeah, free Britney too. Oh man, I just watched a documentary on Britney. Oh man, hashtag free Britney. Oh my God, what is going on there? Leave Britney alone, okay, guys? Like, Jesus. Yeah, no, her dad, man, just free that girl. Oh, poor Britney. She just wants to have a baby. Leave her alone. It's a free world, guys. So Cardano is sitting at $1.33. There was that Cardano Foundation thing. Let me pull that up because it was interesting. Now, I'm going to have a weird take on that, on the Cardano Foundation stuff. And the reason why I'm going to have a weird take on it, and I got to share my actual screen here for you guys so you can see this, but bear with me here. Okay. So the reason why I'm going to have a bad take on this, and I'm sorry in advance to anyone who loves Cardano, I felt like it was a lot of just public service. Now again, it's the Cardano Foundation. It's not like it's the Cardano team. So these are the people promoting Cardano, but it's good for benchmarks, right? It gives us an idea of exactly what we're looking for in the near term for Cardano. They are expecting in 2021 and 2020 to onboard about 50 banks, which is hugely bullish if we do see 50 banks getting onto the Cardano system. We do know where they want to go in terms of like reaching out into Africa and everything else. So having banking structures around that as well, around that infrastructure, is going to be incredibly helpful for those people unlocking the social capital in that area. Introducing 3 supportive libraries and tools. So I don't know if these would be like virtual libraries or Cardano libraries. Also an interesting thing, but it to me seems more like a fluff thing. Launch a developer portal, which I think is going to be helpful. We see things like Polkadot, and the reason why Polkadot is doing so well right now, maybe not in price, but look at Polkadot in the ecosystem. Polkadot works on the Substrate code base, which is a very easy code base for developers to get onto. If I personally develop a token, it's most likely going to be either on Substrate or on Cardano. One of the two, but most likely Substrate. But Cardano putting out portals like this are going to help development on the system. And I'm not saying anything between Polkadot or Cardano. I'm just making an observation that Polkadot has a very easy code base to work with. But so does ADA in a lot of ways. Increasing the quality of voting and proposals in the catalyst, and then increasing interoperability for financial inclusion. So those are things like legacy finance, bringing them over, possibly peer-to-peer loans and everything else. Do I have thoughts on the Charles Hoskinson, Lex Friedman interview? You know what? I didn't actually watch the interview. I watched the message to Lex that he sent out prior to that interview that I kind of ruffled a little feathers with me. Charles is great. Charles is a great person, but I kind of get like a little bit of arrogance from him. How's it going, Vapor? How's the things, man? No worries for being late. Thanks for hopping on. Appreciate you joining Coffee and Crypto, my man. So let's go into 2023 to 2024. They want to publish 3 white papers and 5 how-to case studies with Cardano. Promote growth in wallet addresses, so try to get more wallet addresses, which I think should be pretty easy considering the continents that they're targeting. They're targeting the generally unbanked. So I think you'll see a lot of business owners in Africa, for example, picking up Cardano. You see a lot of money coming in from China into the African countries So I think more and more people, at least in that region, will join Cardano, on top of obvious North American adoption and everything else. But for their targeted areas, I believe that it's going to increase dramatically. Increasing the diversity of on-chain activity, so different activity on-chain, not just exchange data. I'm assuming that they want more like use of the crypto. Onboard 3 Fortune 500 companies to hold ADA in their treasuries. Now, we know that there are some companies that are holding ADA. I think Grayscale is one of them. Grayscale has like their top 3 holding is Cardano at this point. I think that's going to increase. Is Cardano the same as Bitcoin in terms of store of value? I wouldn't say it is. But I would say it's still probably a good store of value. The difference is Bitcoin will never change. Cardano and Ethereum are always subject to some sort of change. That's not always a bad thing, but it can be. And having Bitcoin not changing is actually a very valuable thing. That's why I'm super bullish on where Bitcoin is compared to where everything else could be. Good morning, Mark. How's it going, man? Thoughts on Kraken Store ADA? I think it's a great APY. I don't see why you shouldn't, because I think it rivals even the standard APY that you can get from staking. So yeah, I don't see a reason not. To be honest, I trust Kraken pretty well. I for a while kept a lot of my Polkadot and a lot of my KSM in Kraken. Yeah, it's easy. Go from there. Celsius does not have Cardano just yet, I don't think. I think they're working on it. But last time I checked, it wasn't there. HBAR is actually a really, really great token, to be honest. It's an enterprise solution, so it's not the same as, say, other tokens. But what they're doing on HBAR is incredibly amazing. There's going to be the staking platform for HBAR. The transactions per second rivals most other cryptos out there. And when you're looking at something that enterprises can use for social platforms, say like, organizations like the NBA or something, like if you look at the council behind this group, it's people like LG and like these big companies. They serve 2 terms, and they vote in other council members, and all of them are big enterprises. So I think HBAR is going to be incredible. Yeah, so Celsius is introducing Cardano soon. So HBAR is more of here. Let's pull up the website here for HBAR so we can take a look. So I did a video on HBAR. I really want to redo it because I was like right up to the mic. The camera was all up in my face. Now, HBAR is governed by these areas. So we have Google, we have LG, we have Tata Communications, some big names here. But all of these people, Boeing, all of these organizations serve a 2-term, 3-year term, so they can serve up to 6 years in total, and then are replaced by somebody else. And on that cycle goes. So this is all detailed in the white paper if you want to take a look at it. In terms of transactions per second, we're looking at 10,000 transactions per second, which is huge. I believe that rivals somewhere in the realm of what Visa needs, but I don't think it's quite up there. If I remember right, Visa's like 50,000, but I could be wrong. That makes me sad. That makes me sad, Jared. That's just sad. Okay. YOLOing your mom's savings into Dogecoin. I wonder how that would go if I just, hey mom, I want you to invest in a bunch of meme coin for me. Transaction finality 3 to 5 seconds, so not the quickest, but it's still fairly quick, and the average fee is super low. But like for what it is, for being an enterprise solution, but for what is being built onto the system, it's pretty exciting. They were talking about a social media platform that was going to rival things like Twitch, OnlyFans. It was going to be a social media platform for like for athletes and famous people. essentially. So like imagine like your favorite basketball player having this specific profile. It's kind of like that. It's like a mixture of like Snapchat, TikTok, OnlyFans, the whole thing all wrapped into one. Yeah, sure, a platform well done on the Hedera system like that, yeah, it'll do well. So yeah, am I bullish on what can be built on HBAR? Absolutely. In terms of like who governs it, I don't think that's a big deal. I mean, we're in a capitalist society anyway. Everyone's here to make a little bit of money, and we know that these companies have a good track record of making sure that things run smoothly. And of course, they're going to make sure that the blockchain runs for them before anyone else, right? They're going to be selfish, obviously, but we can still trust that they're going to do well. Last goals, high level for Cardano, 2026 and beyond. They want to create a suite of services. So this is where I start to get real like Microsoft vibes in a way. They want to create a suite of services for a nation. So most likely for some sort of country in Africa or maybe another country outside of that continent, depending on where they can find. 10 Fortune 500 companies plus 1,000 subject matter experts. I think the 1,000 subject matter experts should be fairly easy. You're talking about people, researchers, peer reviewers that are on the system and make it their life. I think 1,000 is a pretty small number. I think a lot of people will dedicate their lives to something like the Cardano blockchain. A decentralized protocol stack. I'm not sure exactly what that means. Ongoing assistance on regulatory framework, which is going to be a big deal for any cryptocurrency in terms of legislation. Say what you will, nobody likes the government, absolutely, but at the same time, yeah, we need some sort of regulatory compliance. And then 1 billion users, which from now to 2026, I don't think is actually that lofty. Can sound a little lofty, but humans are a bit of a disease, so we grow at an exponential rate here. So I'm sure we'll have 1,000 people to join the Cardano system, or 1 billion people. Is Hosk a basketball fan? I'm actually not. No, probably say I'm more of a hockey fan. And even being where I am in Ontario, people will be like, oh, okay, well you're a Toronto Maple Leafs fan. Hell no, absolutely not. My family hates me for it, but I am in no way a Leafs fan. I'd probably say I'm way more of like Montreal Canadiens to Winnipeg Jets kind of thing. But Who's Tyler S? Is that the YouTuber that I'm thinking of? Not quite sure. Okay, so we've discussed ADA. ADA's sitting in their channel. We talked about that $1.50, and it's now kind of like a pseudo resistance that we can't get up to anymore. It used to be support, and that's going to happen. So when you're talking about support lines and resistance lines, first off, when I draw a support line, I look at exactly where it's hit, where it's like traded most around, where it's fought around. So you see all in this area that have fought pretty hard around that $1.50 mark. It did go exaggerated swings, but how I came up with the $1.50 is looking back here in the constant pushback from that $1.50, telling me that it's a line of resistance. So once we got over it, it became a line of support for a while. Now we did crash under it a couple of times, but it still was a line of support. The fact that we crashed under it tells us it wasn't that strong of a line of support. So we were able to break that line, right? So this is how these lines work. Once we break that line of support, it becomes a line of resistance, where it means that we can't break above it, and we have a little bit of a resistance getting above that $1.50. So Cardano's not going to shoot above the $1.50 anytime soon. If it does, it most likely will get bounce back and then come back up. Did I take a look at any KSM ecosystems on the parachain or on the parachain auctions? There was the one that I did look at. It was the Akala clone, and then they have the new one. So actually, we could take a look at those really quick now. Let me just bring those up and see what is in the current swap here. So if you're going to your Polkadot.js wallet, I don't know if anyone actually owns any KSM here. There's a couple of you guys I definitely know. What you'll want to do is get to the KSM chain and go ahead and switch to that network. And if I remember right, this is where, there we go. So we have, all right, so I did remember Karora, but we have these parachains right now that are up. So State Mine, Karora, Shinden, and Moon River, which is the one that I'd probably look into most. Moon River is the sister chain of Moonbeam. Moonbeam, if you guys don't know, is basically the equivalent of Ethereum for Polkadot. So Moon River. Of course, we got breakfast at Tiffany's, but so Moon River, it is the KSM version of Moonbeam. It's the community-led sister parachain. So right now this is going in for the auction in the parachains right now. So you could go ahead and stake your KSM or lend your KSM to that project to be able to get onto their parachain. This is going to be a huge part of the ecosystem, having Moon River a part of the ecosystem, because this is, well, having Moonbeam itself is going to be huge, but you know, I've talked about KSM before and why KSM is so important. It's not just the Canary network, it's not just the test network. There's a lot more that goes into it, and understanding exactly how these different chains work together and create interoperability, it's going to be huge. I think I made a discussion back in a previous KSM video. I'll probably have to redo something. It wasn't that long ago, but a lot has changed in the last little while. But it talks about exactly whose role is what in comparison to, say, ERC20 tokens. So, for example, Chainlink is this great, what's the word, Oracle, and Kylan is basically its counterpart within the Polkadot system, and Kylan is also an amazing project. So there are a lot of projects that come out. Now, it is important for you to get familiar with projects like these, with the parachains, because we're doing the exact same thing with Polkadot as well. And you're going to be able to do the exact same thing. Even now, I get a lot of spam comments. So this is why I'm also trying to stay away from, if somebody comments something on a video, I don't like to talk about it, because I don't know which comments are real and which aren't. And often those comments aren't actually real, because I'm getting a lot of comments for people saying, oh, well, promote this, on the parachain auction, but just trust your research. The two tokens that we're going to have is Glimmer and Moon River for the Moon River and Moonbeam systems. So Moonbeam is obviously coming in with Glimmer, and then Moon River is coming in with MOVR. So depending on which section. So again, Moon River is on the Canary network. August 12th. That's when. Oh well. Love KSM. Yeah, Karora is Karora, I think is a great project. I like it. I like Akala, right? I think that's how you spell it. Yeah. No, I know. Yeah, there we go. So this was a great project here. And I think it's a great project because of Akala, right? Because of where this is going in terms of the DeFi hub. Now, I'm a big proponent of things like PolkaSwap, and I just did a video out about Polkadex. There's no reason for there to be one DEX to rule them all. So I don't want people to think of oh, why are you promoting all these different DEXs? I mean, I use Binance, I use Bitrue, I use KuCoin, I use on the odd time Kraken. Why can't I use multiple DeFi locations if they're going to give me better services on each one? There's nothing wrong with that. So I wouldn't look at it as a competition between the two. Funny how markets. Yeah, I think so. I think it's actually funny, which it's hilarious. One day, I think I'll give you guys some YouTube subscriber TA, because I think it's pretty hilarious to see how Bitcoin will go down, everything will go down, and then all of a sudden viewers just drop. It's pretty funny, but it does go to show, again, back in this fear and greed index and everything else, a lot of people just get shooken out, because everybody that I talk to that is new to cryptocurrency always says the same thing. Hey, I want to do this. I want to sell my house, or I want to go take this massive loan, or I want to do that. No. I always tell people, dollar cost average your way in. Don't put in so much money that when it dips, then you get scared out of the market. Now, if you're not that type of person, sure, you can take a risk like that and sell your house. Look at the CEO of Binance, right? He did exactly that. He runs now the biggest exchange basically for crypto. You can make it work. I'm not saying that you can't, but that's a lot of risk to take when you don't actually know fully what the system is. And if you're just going to get shooken out by the smallest amount of FUD and be like, oh, no, it's a scam now. It's a scam. I'm out of here. Well, then maybe you shouldn't be doing something like that, right? So, liquidity staking will let you use your KSM to borrow or use for liquidity pools as well. Yeah, I mean, like that's all going to be something that's coming out with either Akala or Korora or any other decentralized exchange. They're going to have the same type of thing. So it's it is what it is. Banks are not giving 12%. If you look at it too, Jared, you could probably make 15% if you're staking on chain, directly on chain. So if you take your Polkadot and your KSM, stake it right through the Polkadot JS wallet, you're making roughly 14.5 to 15%. Even Cardano, being Cardano on the Daedalus wallet, making roughly 5 to 6%. Name me one bank that gives you a high interest rate of 5 to 6%. Just one. You could not a credit union, none of that. Just name me one bank. There's not one. The TD, my TD high interest savings account, I'm pretty sure is 0.05 or 0.5. No, like, get out of here with that. Barely breaking inflation. Not even close to breaking inflation. Actually, if you look at it, a mutual fund barely breaks inflation. That's how bad our financial system is right now. Everyone's pushing things like CIDs, CDs, and everything else, mutual funds, all this crap. But when you actually look at it, and here's one thing. I'm going to get on the soapbox for a minute. Michael Saylor, I don't always agree with Michael Saylor, but Michael Saylor has one thing right. And if you think diversifying into U.S. equities, U.S. savings vehicles, U.S. bonds, U.S. stocks, all of this is U.S. money. It's all tied to the USD. When the USD goes down, do you think any of that's going to live? Do you think any of it's going to survive? Sure. A couple of fringe businesses, Apple, Google, all these companies that are really well done out, they're going to live. They're going to survive a dollar crash. But are those equities are going to survive? Are you going to still hold the paper equities when the New York Stock Exchange goes under for whatever reason? Like, is that actually a risk that you're willing to take? The only safe property to have is Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, gold, silver, and actual real estate. That's actually where you're gonna get. But if you're diversifying into U.S. stocks and U.S. savings vehicles that are barely breaking above the inflation rate, you're coming for some pain. Eventually, one day, and it happened just recently. This isn't even a thing that happened in my lifetime. This is things that's happened numerous times throughout my life. Is one day the bank will not withdraw your money. One day you will not be able to take your money from that ATM. Maybe it hasn't happened in America, maybe it hasn't happened in Canada, but it's going to, and I promise you it will. Happen in Venezuela, happen in Lebanon, and it's happened countless and countless times over the last 31 years that I've been alive. And it's going to continue to happen again. So do not trust the government or government fiat currency with your savings, and start being smart about it and actually buy assets, real hard assets, land, crypto, or gold and silver. Yeah, bank of mom and dad. There you go. That's true. They give a pretty high interest rate. So, yeah, 0.05, super disgraceful. It's basically a slap in our face. yeah, there's a lot of big news. There's a lot of big news, and I think a lot of people don't like. By a lot of people, I mean like the IMF. They don't like to see governments take on Bitcoin. And I think the biggest thing there is it breaks away from the status quo. Well, you can't do that before the plan is in place. You can't go legal tender on this incredibly hard asset that is going to jet up your people in your country. You can't do that. No, we don't want you to have power. What are you talking about, having financial power in this world? So I think it's ruffling some feathers in the IMF. But if I can do some digging on, hold on. Banks are scary. I want to. Hopefully the banks will die, right? Hopefully one day the banks have to die. In my opinion, the banks have to die in some way. A decentralized option has to come. Something that's not managed by the government. If you look at why, say, socialist societies collapse, a lot of socialist societies collapse, and capitalism too. A lot of socialist societies collapse because there's corruption at the top. Human beings are fundamentally flawed, including myself. If I'm put up at the top, I don't know what amount of money corruption is going to get to me, right? Anyone can be bought off. Anyone. And I am probably the most empathetic person that you could ever meet in your life. I promise you on that one. But anyone is corruptible. Anyone can be paid off. And when you're looking at somebody that is basically controlling money flow at the top, it's a bad situation because humans themselves cannot be trusted. How it needs to happen is there needs to be something completely separate from human beings, being the blockchain. And we operate monetary policy through that. That's the best way. That way we know indefinitely that there are no shenanigans going on at the top. There are no siphoning of funds, because that's usually what happens. We see Lebanon, for example, a lot of their funds, any funds donated, the government was just pocketing it, right? There's a lot of issues, right? So we need to make sure that monetary policy is very clear in what's happening, and having things like Bitcoin and having things like cryptocurrency where we can track all these individual things, it helps us with clarity to know, okay, hey, we can live outside, like within a budget, and not break into a deficit. That is possible as long as we break down all of this fraud that usually happens up the top. And then at that point you realize that we have a lot more money for things like road systems, for things like social assistance services, and a pretty modest tax amount. A lot of the reason why we pay so much taxes now, probably because a lot of the money gets funded into these black projects that we have no idea where it goes. And I understand the need for some military projects, sure, but I'm not exactly super pro military in terms of like the highest military possible. Drop a like, guys. Please, would greatly appreciate any likes on the video. Vector space VXV, something to look into. I'll take a look at that. We can take a look right now while we're just chatting, because I don't really got anything else prepared. We talked about the news, we talked about the charts, but I'm more than open to talk about any projects. So an on-demand correlated matrix data set. So I was actually looking into this, and now I'm wondering, because there are a couple. This isn't at all what I'm looking at, but I get it. So I'm also looking into something called the XX coin, but I'll have to give this a deeper dive to totally get it, because it looks like they have Microsoft in the mix here. They also have some case studies that would probably be interesting to read. Okay. Well, I'll have to look into it. I don't know enough yet, but I'm assuming it's some sort of AI-driven database something or other. But that could be good. It could be good for important. So I had this thought about AWS, Amazon Web Services, how something like that can be rivaled. There's an interesting discussion right now about deals with AI. There's an interesting discussion right now about whether or not Amazon is a monopoly, whether or not Facebook is a monopoly. And as much as I think they are, I think there are some good valid points to the argument of, should we regulate them? And I think the answer should be no. And the reason why I say the answer should be no is because we should be able to come up with some sort of competition that would tackle them. Now the problem there is things like Amazon. I don't see a way that anyone can honestly compete with Amazon. So it does almost seem like Amazon might need some sort of intervention to get through there. And maybe that's just simply legislation and not actually intervening on business tactics. I do think things like tax evasion can't happen. The things that they're doing with taxes, of course, they're using all legal loopholes. Of course, they have a huge team of lawyers, but things like those loopholes can't happen. Especially when you have a company as big as Amazon. Now, I don't know if the workers should unionize, but that's neither here nor there. But the technology that really rivals Amazon is actually blockchain tech. Because if you think about it, if somebody was able to produce some sort of data like aggregate, so data blockchain, that operated on people's smartphones, computers, and everyone just mined it, similar to what Filecoin does, where you mine it with actual gig space, right? That could dramatically rival AWS, because you no longer have data farms. You don't have just big facilities full of servers. You're actually just running on everyone's individual PCs or phones, right? So it's a lot different. Harmony One is an amazing project. It's been doing very well for months. There's there's that DEX for Harmony One that I can't think of right now, but I know that's doing really well. Harmony One's something that I really should have gotten back into. Like, I have some, but I haven't been DCAing as much as other projects. Sorry, I'm on XRP right now. I use XRP a lot. A lot of people don't like it, and that's fine. You don't have to like it. I like it, and that's the important part. US dollar. 8 cents is a really good price. This is actually below my purchase price of 9 cents, which is really good. Harmony One in general is just a fantastic project if you want to get into it. Same thing with a lot of other projects. When it pumps initially, it kind of bleeds out. But the difference here is this was more drugged out by Bitcoin, right? Like, it pumped up while Bitcoin was doing well, and then Bitcoin was trading level, and Harmony One kind of struggled with every other altcoin, and then it just went down with Bitcoin. But it's doing pretty well. Out camping, enjoy, Richard. Really appreciate you stopping by, man. Have a good weekend. But why? A lot of people are like that. It's fine. The reason why XRP is that's a bet on legislation, the bet on regulations. Ripple has been working with IMF and a lot of central banking entities for a while, and that's why I think they're going to go places. Plus, the statistics on the system rival most other cryptocurrencies, so that's mainly why I personally invest in some XRP. But with HBAR or with the Harmony One, still like same type of deal. Even like when you look at HBAR, right? We're talking about 2-second finality. We're talking about how many transactions per second. Do they have it posted here? I feel like they had it at one point, but I know the transactions per second is a lot. They're able to do a lot on Harmony One. But when you're looking at it compared to Ethereum 2, and Polkadot, it's pretty good in terms of rivaling those services. Now, of course, it has less validators than Ethereum, but that's basically on who uses the system, right? With our current market cap, so $1.3 trillion, we'll look at CoinGecko here. CoinGecko is always traditionally off a little bit, 1.4 trillion. I don't know which one's the correct one and which one's not, but Bitcoin currently sitting at just under $34,000. Ethereum, let's actually talk about Ethereum, because Ethereum has been nice. Still have writing on my chart from last time I talked about Ethereum. But the reason why Ethereum is so good is because look how much it's held compared to everything else in terms of the dip, right? So it's still holding its February, well, more than its February, because you look back here, this is back in April. So it's still holding its April highs in this chart but most other cryptocurrencies are down to their February. Like if we look at Polkadot, for example, Polkadot is a prime example of that, where it's holding back down to where it was in January, so not even February. And then if you look back at Ethereum, it's holding back to its April. So it's holding a lot of what it's already pumped on a lot of fronts. Now, we can absolutely see Ethereum go down a bit more, but we do know that Ethereum's holding a good amount, and most likely once Bitcoin does re-engage, Ethereum's going to be set to go on a pretty big run. Whether Ethereum can actually hit the 10K people we're talking about, I think maybe conservatively we're talking maybe maybe $8,000. But I still see the 10K as being a realistic option by the end of the market cycle, whenever that might be. And like I said, most likely it's going to be sometime in the fall of 2022, not the fall of 2021. So, yeah, Harmony One is probably one of the fastest transactions out there that you can get. But in terms of Ethereum, what is happening with EIP coming out in August 4th and everything else. I've talked about EIP 1559 before, and I've also said that most likely what's going to happen is this price is going to be baked into the price on August 4th. So I wouldn't be waiting for August 4th to trade. Now, August 4th will come with volatility, but it could go volatility on either side when you have news like this. So I don't trade volatility. I don't trade news. I don't trade at all, really. I just buy, hodl, and provide liquidity on decentralized exchanges. But if you are a trader and you are looking to trade Ethereum, and make sure that you're locking in your bet whether or not it's going to go up and down for that time prior to the 4th. So right now, because over the next couple of weeks, whatever price we land at will most likely be what the fair price is of Ethereum. And we could even say that the fair price is right now 2,100. Maybe that is the fair price. Maybe that's why we've held so much support, is because we know EIP 1559 is coming out. That's also a very big possibility, because it's held a good amount of its support. But the reason why I don't think that's the case is because of how long Ethereum was just lagging behind, right? Ethereum was lagging behind while Bitcoin was just pumping all through this zone. It wasn't really doing much like exciting until finally Ethereum broke up here, and then once it broke, it just went like a bullet and just shot right up. And that's when everyone saw, like, oh man, Ethereum is like at 4,000. Ethereum hit $4,400. Like, that's a big amount for Ethereum. So for Ethereum to do that, it needed that time of just trading level and not really doing anything. And that's why things like this, when you look at Bitcoin, when it's just trading level and not doing anything, that's when you really should get bullish more so. I know it's annoying seeing it in this zone. I know it sucks, but we've been consistent at saying it's going to just trade within our 32 to 42,000 mark, and eventually, at some point, and it could go under this, but at some point, it is going to rebound and it is going to make its way back up. So the reality here is sideways trading action only provides later support when we're going to go on a run. So anything like this, we've seen this with Cardano 2. Cardano did the same thing, where it just traded sideways for an extended period of time, and then when it pumped, it was able to hold those numbers much better, even amid a big Bitcoin dump. Even with the Bitcoin dump, everyone probably saw the Bitcoin dump, but Cardano maxis just holding Cardano in their portfolios are like, what dip, right? They're still doing very, very well with Cardano at $1.33 right now. Some people can get upset, but hey. Has it been delayed? Well, I mean, it's been delayed already, coming in August 4th, but I don't know if it's been delayed since then. We just talked about that. EIP 1559. We talked about that a couple of days ago. No, it looks like it's still postponed to the August 4th that we discussed in the video that we put out there. So we'll put that right there. Ethereum EIP 1559 is postponed, but we discussed this to August 4th. It was supposed to come out sometime this month, but it is coming out August 4th. Now, a couple of things to note. It might not come up on August 4th directly. It does depend on the block, right? So the update won't actually happen until this block is activated. So 12,665,000. Once that block is mined, at that point, the EIP 1559 update will be live. So it is block specific, just like how Bitcoin works. Same type of deal. And then once that happens, the only thing that I don't exactly understand is how this impacts miners. I knew ETH 2.0 would impact miners, but I had no idea that that EIP 1559 would impact miners. But I've been hearing things about that. I guess I'll report back on like how that impacts me, but you know, till the next delay, yeah, that's for sure. I mean, yeah, exactly. Ethereum getting delayed is very, very common for Ethereum, but like, you know, fair with a lot of other cryptocurrencies. We've seen a lot of delays in the space, so it's frustrating, that's for sure. But I guess it is what it is, as I always say. Ooh, Dogecoin at 21 cents. Rip Dogecoin holders. Yeah. I think a couple of tokens have been doing well. Like lately, Uniswap has been doing pretty good. A lot of exchange tokens were doing good. Matic hasn't held as well as we'd hope that it hold, but it's still holding above $1, which is nice. VeChain's probably a great buy right now at 7 cents. I remember buying VeChain at under a cent. Good times. I miss those times a lot. I'm not gonna lie. Aave is something that I've wanted to enter, and I should have gotten into it during the dip, but it's held pretty well. With the Polygon Matic system, we discussed this in one of our videos a little while ago. With the Polygon Matic system, it actually makes Aave very usable for just like regular hodlers and not whales. So I'm interested in learning more about the Aave system in terms of the lending and the earning. So I'm probably going to start entering Aave, even though it's at this price. I think it's going to be good for down the road anyway. Cell token has just been, you know, a Cell token moving around that $6 to $7 range. It's been doing pretty well. I'm a pretty big Cell token bull. I've talked about the Cell token before. I hold a decent amount of Cell token. I guess, you know, comparatively decent. The reason why Cell token is so good is because of the flywheel effect and how it works with Celsius. So essentially, the Cell token is paid out on the extra earnings, so you can earn more earnings on your Bitcoin or something if you earn it in Cell token, and that's paid out to people that are just holding. And it's not paid out from Celsius directly. They actually buy it off the open market and then give it to everyone. So it's not that they're pulling it from their treasury or anything and paying everyone with treasury deposits, that they're actually going out to the open market, buying Cell token, and then distributing it to their holders for their interest. So yeah, we're on track. ETH 2.0 to debut in 2018. That's right. It's coming in 2018 for sure. For sure. Yeah, if only, man. If only. But like, how often have we heard that story? Oh, ETH 2.0 delayed. ETH 2.0 delayed. I would probably say that one of my stupidest things that I've done in crypto has been locking up my ETH in stake pools. That's easily one of the stupidest things. However, I would have probably sold my ETH back at like $1,400, and I've kept it. My dollar cost average on Ethereum, I think, is like $300 if I'm right. Yeah, it's $300. So like, arguably, you know, I gotta thank it for it, right? But at the same time, I hope I don't regret staking my Ethereum. But so far, I don't think I will. I don't think I will regret that. All right, so let's see if there's any other news that we can discuss here. If there's any questions about any tokens, we can go over specifically like DeFi, and if anyone wants or anything like that. There was one thing. Now I was looking into like coming out into the TikTok sphere, because we hear everyone talking about TikTok, cryptocurrencies, and everything else. Apparently, TikTok is banning people for talking about crypto. I don't know exactly what that is. I guess you got to be careful, but like the SEC is not really going against like Telegram channels talking about pump and dumps, and like these are all things that have happened like so long. You know, like back in .com booms and penny stocks and everything else. Like we're talking like Wolf of Wall Street days. People were in like Yahoo chats talking about like what stocks to go into. You know, I don't know, like, especially with their example here, save the kids. Oh God, save the kids token. I don't know. I see why they're banning cryptocurrencies from social platforms like this, but I also don't see it, right? In a world where we should have less regulations, not more, and like really exposure to things like this is going to be valuable for people. To understand that there are assets out there that are very, very risky, very volatile, but hey, you can actually break free from their current status quo by investing in some of these things. So I don't know. I don't see it as a bad thing to have them up on these social platforms, but it's interesting to see something as big as TikTok causing some issues for that. We are coming up to an hour, so I'm gonna leave it for any last minute questions. Just so you guys know too, over the next little while, what I'm gonna end up doing is employing something else within these live streams. What I want to do, and I do have a Discord out, and let me just open up. Let's see, display capture. Okay, and all right, so. So I do have a Discord, okay? The reason why I bring up my Discord here, obviously, join my Discord. We have a lot of chats here. You can get to me directly if you want to send me a message. But what I want to do in the live stream eventually, I want people to just sit in this waiting room, and I'm going to pull you into our room here, and you can ask a question live on stream. If people are comfortable, they can go ahead and share their video as well. But for anyone that is wanting to ask a question in these live streams next week, I will open that up. I'll probably open it up from the get-go, from the start, so you can come in, ask your question. We can have a little conversation, and go from there. There you go. Getting some advertisement there. Good for you, man. Good for you. I'm a big baby. So absolutely for next week and any future live streams, we'll probably be doing this. We'll kind of play with it and see how it works. If you do want to be on to ask a question, just make sure you have a few things. Make sure that I'm not playing through your speakers. Make sure you're muting the stream when you get on the call with me, and make sure that you have like at least headphones, right? So headphones, headset, whatever. You don't need to show your face. You don't need to share your camera, but you absolutely can if you'd like to. But you can come on, ask about your favorite shit token or whatever you want to do. So that'll be happening soon. We also have some big news coming up for the next week. I know the upload schedule has been a little bit wonky. It's just me trying to get back into the swing of things, being away on vacation for a little while. So as I start getting back into the swing of things, scheduling things a little bit more, there'll be more consistent uploads, hopefully getting down to 11 a.m. for upload times every day. Now, that being said, I don't know if I can commit to exactly that time, but for the most time, that's what I'm shooting at, because that's where the bulk of my people are online. And also, we'll probably end up throwing in another live stream during the week, just to kind of cap up everything, so we're not just doing one live through the week. But that's it for me. That's basically the plans for the YouTube, or at least what I'm willing to say for now, because there's still a lot of big things that are going to happen in the next couple of months that we're super excited about. But I think that's it. Less money for transactions. More. Oh, okay. Oh, for Ethereum. Yeah, that makes sense. I wonder if it's going to impact me at all. The lucky thing about me is I don't pay my hydro costs here. That's why I live in such a crappy apartment, is because I don't pay my power bill, and I get to mine Ethereum for free. So I get free money every month. Okay, that's it for me, everybody. If you guys have anything else, go ahead and leave it in the comments below. Go ahead and like the video, and happy hodling. Have a good one. Enjoy your weekend, guys.